Hey everybody, this is the next video about my kitchen reno. Now this is the old cabinet that we'll be redoing today. And actually this process took my husband and me about 3 days total to do it. Here you can see the inside of how it looks. This was probably built around 1909 and it had, I'd say, at least 3 colors, if not 5. So you can see here kind of a yellowy color. Then there's the brown color that's on the outside. When we moved into the house, it was yellow. Then as we stripped it, we found a blue color. We found parts of red paint. And we also, so let's see, yellow, red, blue, brown. So four different colors. So here we are, and I am trying to unscrew the hinges. And the hinges are the regular flat screwdrivers, like just one line. And I hate those because it takes a lot of effort to unscrew them because they could have different paint inside of them. They could be different widths. So when my husband's not around, I do everything myself. But when he's around, sometimes I'm like, hey, you do this. This is making me crazy. So he did help me with unscrewing some of these. And then I thought to myself, hey, if we went to the store and bought some brass, because these screws looked brass, but once I sanded them, I think that they were not because they turned kind of silver looking. Anyway, we went down and we had to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 6 new screws. And I wanted them to have the square hole that you use the drill bit with. So I wanted square, not a flat line or a straight line. Or not even Phillips, which is the X. So how much do you think one screw cost? One. And it was not even an inch. It was like 3/4 of an inch. $1.41. $1.41. So my husband looked at me and I said, I don't need to spend like 60, 70 bucks on screws. Let's go home. So we used the same screws to put them in. And so putting them back together again, I was like, hey, honey, you get to put the screws back in. So here I am unscrewing them with drill, and it's kind of funny because if you don't get exactly in the little crevice where you need to put your screwdriver, it then goes pew and it flings out. So it's very, very annoying. So I am happy that we went to look for new ones before I donated to the restore, which I often do. I think, oh yeah, let's get rid of this. And then later on, I'm like, oh, yeah, too bad we don't have that. So, yes, I am keeping more things, even though I don't like all the stuff everywhere. So I am trying to organize it. So now we're taking off the latches for the door, and we are going to keep the ones that are still working. That one worked. There was another one that was broken, so we threw that away. And you can see how much damage there are on these doors. You can see so many holes being drilled. You can see that the top of the wood has been cracked off. And we did use quick wood for making it look like it was all filled in, because I love quick wood. Shout out, people. I'm telling you again, quick wood is awesome. Now for this build or redo, I, on purpose, decided not to use gloves when I used the quick wood. And when I do that for a short amount of time and wash my hands right afterwards, I feel like my hands don't feel like anything, and it's so much easier to use the quick wood because the gloves, it's so hard to work with. Well, this time I used quick wood, I washed it off, and then I used quick wood again, but I got so much off my fingers I kind of forgot about it. Oh, yeah. Well, their directions say, you better make sure that you wear gloves. And after that, my fingers got cracked. So I deserved it, and especially if you are a female who is lactating or want to have babies, then don't do what I did, but I'm way past that age. So the first thing I did is I thought I will use the scraper, the carbide steel, is that what it's called? Steel scraper, to kind of loosen up some of the wood. And then I was going to use some of the strippers you can see right here. That was $54 at Lowe's. $54. And way back in the day, stripper worked incredibly well. And everybody who I know who works with wood and everything said that they changed the formula because it was a carcinogen and it was really bad for the environment, which, oh, great. Well, now if you watch YouTube videos, you'll see everybody putting plastic wrap on it. So I had never done that because why waste more plastic when the stripper should work by itself? Yeah, so I put the plastic wrap on, which you'll see, and yeah, it works moderately, no, but badly. It works badly. I will never buy stripper ever again. So I have 4 doors. These are the little 2 ones that go on the bottom. So I thought I would use different methods for the different doors. So for this, I first scraped, and then I put on the stripper, and then I waited, and then when it bubbled up, I used the little chiseling stick, whatever you want to call it, scraper, to take off the paint. And there's like 4 layers. So then I used the scraper again, the one that you saw me in the beginning use. And then my neighbor had a heat gun. Now I have done research about don't use heat guns on stripper because it's very flammable. However, there was no more stripper left. It was just all the old gunky paints. So after I took all of that off, I then used the heat gun. Oh yeah, heat gun is the way to go. Number one, love it for cleanup because all of the paint comes off and it's like not burnt, it's like baked. So it's all crispy. There's no goo. And for the stripper, you have to wear gloves like this or the stripper goes through like regular gloves and will burn you. And the burns aren't severe. I've been burned before and it just kind of stings. But yeah, you have to wear these kind of gloves, which, as I've mentioned before, my little fat fingers don't even reach in all the way. So I've got like 2 inches of extra gloves, and it's just a drama. It's just a drama. So here's me stripping off all of the paints that did come off. And if you want to see it more up close, I posted about 4 days ago the ASMR version of this, and that's up close. So what I've been doing is I'm going to be doing, this is called Portrait, and if you ever have a paper that you want to print and it looks up and down, that's called a portrait. Now, if you ever want a document printed and you put it the other way, so it's long, that's called landscape. And it's the same thing for this. So on YouTube, they like landscape, and for TikTok and Instagram, they like this way, which is portrait. So that's why I've decided to go both ways, just in case they want to make videos or little things for other kind of social media. So I am doing, I think, 2 coats of the stripper to get the paint off. And it was just a mess. Yeah. And I'm wearing a face mask, and I have a renter who lives upstairs. So I kind of felt bad about the smells, but we did leave the doors open. Now here's the heat gun, and I've mentioned my lovely friend Joanne next door who lets me borrow all of her stuff. So we did use this, and then my husband said, you know what, let's just buy our own. So we went online, and they are, of course, sold on Amazon from anywhere from like $20 up to like $100. So because we didn't want to wait for a couple of days for it to come, I went to Lowe's and I asked a young man who worked there what was the best one he liked. And this one was $29. It was the cheapest one there. And he said it works like a charm. And so you'll see later on that we're using a different colored one. I think it's a yellow or something. So this is my friend Joanne's. It works like a charm. It's pretty old. Works great. The new one we got, I thought worked maybe a little bit better, but you can see, although this is faster, the speed is faster on this video. I am putting very, very, very little pressure to get the paint off. It's so easy. It's, if you don't mind warm heat, it's a kind of a cold day today, so I liked it actually inside the garage. But the little scraper I'm using, or a putty knife or whatever you want to call it, oh my gosh, that's, I mean, just so easy. You wait for it to bubble up a little bit, and then you put the little knife underneath, and then you gently slide with it. And it's so rewarding. And then to clean up, it's just sweeping. There's no gook, there's no nothing. There is kind of a little bit of a bad smell, so I would use a face mask. Just, you don't want to smell and breathe in fumes, but yeah. So a lot of this video is just taking off paint. And that's why I decided that I was going to whitewash these, because the house has a lot of dark wood, which I love, but these were not originally dark wood. They weren't any color, really. I think they were originally yellow. So when we took off some of the paint on some of the doors, there were 4 layers, and then this one had like 1 layer. So it was really interesting. So I don't know. I also bought the hardware at, what was it? Hardware Restoration online. And they had a 25% discount, so I bought all of them at that point. And so you might think I'm redoing the same thing over and over again. I'm not. There's 4 different doors. So these are the ones that go on the bottom. The ones that are that I was using the heat gun, that was the big ones on top. So now you can see it looks like there's brown on top, and then there's yellow, then there's kind of a blue color. And then on one of the sides, it had red. I have no idea why. And also, in the future, if anybody doesn't like my whitewashing, it's a lot easier to, just sand off the whitewash than to have to do this whole process. Yeah. I'm not saying I want to be a sander for the rest of my life, but the heat gun removing of paints is really, really rewarding. I love it. Now, I also know that people have used, there's a sander that you put, I think, actually sand in, and that will take off paints. That's a mess. There was a guy who I knew when I was in grad school that he owned a body shop, and they had some kind of sanders where they put shells of walnuts in. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention, but that's what he was talking about. But once again, I think that would be a lot of cleanup. This was a lot of cleanup, but as I mentioned, it was all dry. So at the worst, it is crunched underneath your feet. So here's my lovely husband. And when I was stripping, he was using the Serve Prep sander. We are not affiliated with the company. I wish I were, but he sanded the inside when I was doing the this outside in the garage. Now, the reason why if this is kind of close up is I did edit this so you could see up close for a little bit what it looked like. So the brown is not the wood. The brown was the original, not original, but the latest color that was outside. So then you can see it goes away. Then there's the yellow. Then there's the blue. Yeah. And then I'm also on the side of the wood, I'm kind of like taking the excess off, because after taking the gunky paint, it does harden, but then it hardens on the putty knife. So that's why you can see me trying to get that off of there. So it is very helpful to have a helper, because I didn't do any of the sanding inside. However, he did say he was shocked that there was so little dust from the Surf Prep sander inside. There was really no dust on anything except for the actual sander itself. Like underneath it, there was a layer of dust right there, and he did wear his respirator because, you know, you don't want to breathe in bad stuff if you can avoid it. Now behind me on the right, you can see all those white pieces of something. That's all the foam that I got in the greenhouse. If you haven't seen the video about us putting the greenhouse together, you can look for that. We're using that to put stuff on. Like, for example, inside of the kitchen, we have brand new flooring. So we're putting the foam underneath these cupboard doors so that it doesn't ding up the ding up the floor. Yeah, and these scrapers, there was only one of them left at Lowe's when I went to buy them a couple of months ago. And oh my goodness, I've seen Salvage by Kay Scott and Transcend Furniture use them, and I love it. Love it, 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 love it. Do I love it? Yes, I love it. Yeah, there was a book that I read in college, and it was about the Black Plague. And when I was reading it, I asked the teacher, I said, why is it so repetitive? And I wish I could remember the name of the book. If you remember, you can put it down in the comments below, and I will read it. And he said, well, it's to give you the feeling of how it was when everyone's dying all around you. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So as I am watching this video, and it's all about the sanding and the sanding and the sanding, yeah, that's to give you a feeling of how it was. It was mostly 3 days of sanding. So the first day we did this, I took off as much paint as I could. Aha, here we go. That's the inside. I painted the support of the cupboard itself without the doors, of the white color. So it's the same color of whitewash, and I just did it a full paint. I didn't water it down. Now for this side of the door, it is also the full paint. It's not whitewashed. The reason for that is because I did not think it was important to remove all the paint from the outside of the cupboard and the inside of the doors, because it just takes way too long, and that wasn't the main point of this. The main point was to refresh it. Now you can see I'm using the Zinsser bin to spray, because when I put the first coat of the paint that we're going to be using, I could see a lot of bleed through. I could see the tannins in the wood. I could see the blue. I could see a little bit of the red that was there. Really weird. So after I let the first coat dry of the regular paint, then I did Zinsser bin over that, and then I painted over that. So it has 3 coats for the on the inside of the doors. So then, taking more of the blue paint off of the doors. So back to the inside. Once my husband sanded all of the outside of the cupboards, I went in, and I think he also scuffed the place where you put the dishes on the shelves. So I went in with the same, oh no, actually I had extra paint. So when I was redoing the patch in the ceiling from taking down the chimney, which is also a video if you want to see me take down a chimney. I had a sore back for about 2 months after that. It's so bad. Anyway, I was trying to match the color of the ceiling without having to take off part of the ceiling to bring to Lowe's to then have them match the paint, blah, blah, blah. So if you come into my house, if you look up, you will see that it doesn't match, but we want to redo the ceiling anyway with new lighting, so it's not a big deal. Nothing's perfect, as I always say. So I had extra paint, and that's what I painted the shelves and the back of the cupboard. So it was a yellow color, and I was going to leave it that way, and it just looks so dirty, and I'll show you pictures a little bit later on. There was cracks and everything like that, so it looked bad. So I did the painting inside there. And then my husband, he said, oh my goodness, the Surf Prep sander is like magic erase from Mr. Clean for dirt. It's so true. When you use this properly, it just eats up all of the paint so nicely, and it's just fantastic. So here you can kind of see me taking off the paint, and it's just easy. And the Surf Prep sander just, takes all of the dust in, and it's just great. Now, there was a guy who came over to the house, and he's going to be doing our countertops. And he wanted to see the Surf Prep sander because he had never heard of it before. And he said, oh, yeah, that's very similar to blah, blah, blah. So there's another company that also makes things like this as well, of course. But I guess they're not so much on YouTube. Maybe more contractors use it. So there are different ones out there, but my whole life I just used my dad's tools, which weren't bad at the time. But once you can use professional tools, what a difference. Now here I am scraping the lip of the door panel because there was paint. So you can see I painted there except for the very top. That's the color. You can see the crack. So I'm just going to finish up and make that all a lighter color so it looks a lot better. Now I used Dixie Belle Gator Hide for this part. I did not use it for the doors. I only used it for the cabinet. So now what I did is because the paint I used was very old, it was for the ceiling actually. Oh, here's the whitewash. I bought those strainers. So one of them I mixed with water, and that's what I did the whitewash with, like right here you can see. That's the old color of the cabinet, but not the same cabinet. Here it is right there. So I whitewashed the front and the back. I used the same paint without watering it down. And I got these cute little knobs I think are so cute. That goes with the style of the house, which is a Craftsman. And there it looks. That's the old color, just to remind you, because it was just so ugly. New color, so nice. All right, so if you want to see how I whitewashed, there is a video where I do over some side tables, so you can check that out. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.